Hello, we are here talking all things Joan of Arc. Who we are talking to is somebody that should be familiar from back in 1991, Robert Hart, a composer, when he premiered the oratorio, The Diary of Joseph, about Mary's wife. And now, in the first weekend of October, he is premiering another oratorio, Contemplating Fire, Joan of Arc. And none other as Joan of Arc is Saginaw's own Emily Marvosh, a marvelous contralto. So I guess my first question, Robert, is why Joan of Arc? You have a religious theme going here. You had Joseph. Now, why Joan of Arc of millions of characters out there?
Okay. Well, I wrote this about Joan of Arc because years ago I was given a couple of short plays. The Diary of Joseph was one, as you mentioned, and
Right.
the Joan play was another by the same author, Sharon Curcio. And I wrote the Diary of Joseph first, thinking I could just add a little music to flesh out what was maybe too short for a radio play and turn it into this giant overstuffed thing. And in the late 90s, I worked a little bit on the Joan play, but then we adopted and I stopped composing for almost 2 decades.
I wondered what. Okay.
Yeah, and about 4 or 5 years ago, as my children were getting grown and my career was in a different place, I was able to get back to this first love of classical music. So I resumed work on the Joan play then. It's amazing though, because you could hardly have a more relevant character in today's world than Joan of Arc. But I didn't plan it that way.
Yeah, sometimes history catches up with us. And I understand there's 4 characters in the oratorio. How do you voice somebody like Joan?
Well, I always thought of Joan as having a low voice. I never thought of her as a soprano or as a diva type actress. In fact, when I first was writing music for the Joan play, it was going to be more like Joseph with spoken parts. But then I heard Emily Marvosh sing. Heard Emily Marvosh sing with the Saginaw Choral Society about 10 or 12 years ago, and I was just stunned. And I thought, well, that is exactly the person that should be Joan. And so Emily, being a contralto, has a low voice, and so I started thinking, well, this should be sung rather than spoken. So I wrote it with her voice and her stage presence and acting ability in mind.
Okay, can you play a little piece that might sound like her?
Sure, I can play. This is all electronic, and of course there are no voices. But right. I'm going to play a little bit of instrumental where she in fact would be singing, and she's singing these words: "As for me, I'll lie awake with my voices tonight. They'll sing me to sleep in soft, soothing tones."
That's lovely.
Yes, thank you.
I noticed there are 3 other characters. We won't get into all their names, but a celestial voice, Charles, of course, and a lead advisor. I guess they're not very nice people. And then I kept reading and I thought, what did I just read? It's a 20-piece orchestra, no violins, and 11 percussionists. What?
Yes, well, I have always wanted a very different sound for this show, and I've certainly achieved different. And the public can decide whether they like it or not. But it's a very vibrant sound with having the mallet instruments carry the ball the way that the upper strings do in ordinary orchestration. So they are very prominent. Sometimes they're in an accompaniment role where there's in fact rolling pitches on the marimba, the vibraphone, etc. Sometimes they're really taking the lead and banging out some very vibrant, wild, angular lines. Very different sound. I'm a flutist. I always have a flute and a piccolo involved in what I do, and some really nice flute and piccolo work in this. You heard some piccolo solo in this last section, and a brass quartet, harp, 1 cello, and 1 double bass. So a very, very different sound. And
can't wait.
Pardon me.
I said, so you got a little bit there that you can play that would be representative of
Yeah,
that?
it'll take me a moment to cue this up. 1 second. Now that's a scene in which the advisor, a really vile and malicious person who also functions as the comic relief, says, says, unseeming, wouldn't you say, that Michael and Mary in privy pour great battle plans into her ear? And you could hear a few things that were sort of hymn-like. And at that point in the show, he's doing mock prayer. It says unpreposterous that this unworthy literate sits at God's fingertips. And at the very end, it ends with that bit, with the God's fingertips. Before that, that Michael and Mary, the saints.
So is a quick. I'm sorry. I'm having a little delay here. Can you hear me? I hope it hasn't frozen online.
The service, the comic relief, and often get his advice and all that he's but
So is a quick synopsis fair to say that it portrays her alone in her cell, age 19, reflecting on the visions, victories, and betrayals in her life? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I lost you there. You back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm in the same room with my Wi-Fi, so I don't think I had a loss of signal, but
I hope we haven't lost the whole interview. I can't. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what to do. We'll just keep going.
okay.
So is it safe to say she's the verbal part? She's alone in her cell, age 19, reflecting on her visions, victories, and betrayals that have her facing death. Is that kind of the scenario of the script?
Absolutely. And of course there's an overture, but immediately after that, the first scene is of Joan alone in her cell, and it's a stream of consciousness. It was written that way, and she is reflecting on at the outset immediately on the betrayal that she feels on the part of Charles.
Okay. And about how long does it run? Just how much of the story do we get, I guess?
Well, the program, and it's going to be very professionally done, is an hour and a half with a 20-minute plus a 20-minute intermission. And so we get various sides of Joan. We get to see the king in his self-pitying mode, but also as a person that Joan loves and who's worthy of her love. And despite him betraying her, she never gives up her love for him or her belief in his divine right to be king. And everything that she does is driven by the voices that she has, this direct connection to God, which enabled her to achieve victory on the battlefield when the French hadn't been able to win anything in more than 20 years.
How do I even ask the question? She's been written about so many times by so many people. What might be a little different about this script and this score?
Okay. Well, the language in this script is just great. I would not have devoted years of my life to setting these two short plays to music if I didn't think that the language is just extraordinary. Okay. As far as the music, I think people will, they may like it, they may not like it, but they won't think they've heard it all before.
Right, that's true.
Okay, it doesn't sound like Puccini, it doesn't sound like Andrew Lloyd Webber, it doesn't sound like anything else on Broadway. I mean, people who go to a lot of concerts will recognize elements. They'll recognize medieval sounds, church modes. That the song that I played for you, where Joan is singing, is strictly modal in the vocal part. Yeah. So very, very old fashioned. And there's some musical cadences in this that actually date back to earlier than Joan's life. But there are obviously other modern things as well. And a lot of it is very highly energized music. So not dirge like.
I'm sorry, not dirge like, right. So I need to give people a little of your background. You have written before, you've written flute quartets here, you've written suites and concertos with saxophone percussion. 7 songs we know of, and a piece for chorus orchestra. And you have a, get it right here, master's degree in music from Yale and also in flute performance. Recently retired from 40 years, however, from Merrill Lynch as a wealth management advisor. So what are you going to do now that you're retired? Write even more music, hopefully?
Well, I do hope to write more music. When I finished the score for Contemplating Fire, which is the new name for the Joan play, I asked the man that I studied with, Steve Rush, down at the University of Michigan, what I should work on next. And he said, no, you're working on this. You're working on this show until it's produced. And truer words were never spoken. But I do have other things in mind. About the only thing I've written in the last year is a string quartet made out of 5 miniatures, 5 movements that are a minute to a minute and a half long, and very, very, very different in style and sound from anything in Contemplating Fire. So I have a lot of things I would like to work on, and I would like to do a revival of the Diary of Joseph in different form with it fully. I have already fully orchestrated that in the last couple of years, and would like to do it with the symphony, and that could be done in true oratorio style, just stand up without the dancers that we employed the first time around. And so I would like to work on that, but really I would like to get back to writing something that I haven't thought about yet. So something totally new.
Right. Totally something out of left field. So anything else you want to mention about this piece? And we'll end with another selection, but anything else you can think of?
Well, I just want to stress the professional quality that people will enjoy if they come to these performances. We have 4 outstanding nationally known singers, headed by Emily Marvosh.
Yes.
We have all professional orchestra. These people are going to come in and learn a long and difficult score in very short order, but they are going to be great. We have an outstanding theatrical director who's sort of come in at the last minute and bailed us out, someone with years of experience at the Chicago Lyric Opera. And so it's going to look and sound very professional. So people will feel like they have had a real night out at a significant cultural event.
Okay, so I want to reiterate, it is October 1st at 7:30 p.m. and October 2nd, 3 p.m. at the Bullock Creek High School Auditorium, which is a gorgeous facility.
Yes, it is.
Tickets are it's just wonderful, and a good crew. $30 for adults, $10 for students. You can get tickets. It's on the introductory link, but also at bcauditorium.ludus.com. And make sure you look on the introductory piece also for the website to read even more. And Robert, I'll let you pick what you're going to close with here on your song.
Okay. I'm going to do a piece that introduces Charles. This is his first entrance in the show, and this is one of his whiny self-pitying numbers. And he says in this, caught in the body politic, wedged between kingdom, counselors, and crown. Did not mean to do it, Joan. Did not mean to let you down, but constantly they tortured me, fought me round after round, beat me to the ground. In their nightmarish way, they haunted my nights, riddled my days. It'll take me a minute to load this. That's Charles.
Okay, I think that will do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.